Good evening, and welcome to the scientific nap, a timeless place where night cradles you in calm. Here, bedtime is gentle, like an old friend's embrace. Let your worries fade into quiet shadows. Your body grows light, your mind drifts far. From today, sleep comes slowly, softly, the way it always has. Rest well, dream deep, good night. The first breath you take feels heavy, as if the air itself has forgotten how to greet you. The street you stand on resembles your own hometown, but softer at the edges, like someone painted it from memory and left parts unfinished. Houses lean in familiar ways, lampposts curve where they should, and the scent of rain-damp pavement drifts through the evening light. Yet each footstep you take echoes into silence, as though the world absorbs the sound rather than returning it. You reach for the rusted gate of your childhood yard, but your hand passes through the latch without resistance. There's no clang, no friction, just the hush of absence swallowing your touch. A woman in a red coat walks past, hair lifted by the same gentle breeze that tousles yours. Her eyes never flicker in your direction. Behind her, a boy chases a paper plane across the street, laughter spilling into the twilight, but his joy moves through you like mist. You wave your arms, whisper hello, even shout, but nothing stirs their eyes. It's as if you are an afterthought of a memory, a ripple in water long stilled. Across the street, a Café S. Windows glow amber, filled with people animated in conversation and warmth. Faces you almost recognize lean close to each other, exchanging secrets, but their voices are muffled by a pain of reality you cannot crack. You find yourself drawn to the photograph in the cafe window, a black-and white portrait of a family gathered on a porch, much like yours. In the fading light, you see your own smile there, unmistakable, but when you blink, the image flickers. The grin softens, your face dissolving into someone else's, until there's no trace you ever belonged in that moment. It's not that you're invisible, you were simply never necessary here. The universe grew up without you, made choices you were never part of, and continued on as if your branch of possibility had quietly snapped off the tree. A soft hum seems to pulse beneath the world, like the vibration of a distant train approaching. But there is no engine, no rails, just the restless shifting of a universe realigning itself. You step into the cafe, hoping to catch warmth or acknowledgement. The bell above the door doesn't ring. The scent of baking bread slides past your senses without greeting. Chairs scrape, mugs clink, conversations rise and fall, but none of it touches you. People brush past, eyes unfocused, as if your outline was simply a trick of the light. You wonder if you have become a ghost, but the truth stirs deeper. Here you never existed to die. Time unwound without you, like a watch that never needed your hands. Outside, the streetlights flicker on one by one, scattering pale circles across empty sidewalks. In one of those circles, you catch your shadow stretching long and thin. But when you step into it, the darkness does not gather around your feet, it vanishes, as if your presence cannot even block light. Somewhere beyond the rooftops, the sky shifts from mauve to deep indigo. Stars appear, familiar in their constellations, but subtly rearranged. Orion's belt hangs crooked, the Dipper shallow and wide. This cosmos remembers different stories in its patterns, myths told without your ancestors' tongues. You find comfort in the strangeness, wondering if each world sings its own lullaby to the night, each melody missing or including you by chance. As you wander, your path leads you to an old stone library on a hill. The doors stand open, shadows yawning across the threshold. Inside, the walls are lined with books that hum quietly, each volume quivering as if trying to speak. You reach for a thin, leather-bound book, fingers brushing the spine, but the cover crumbles into dust before your touch. Letters scatter into the air, rearranging themselves in patterns you almost understand before falling silent again. These stories were never meant for you. They bloom and wither without your reading eyes. You climb a spiral staircase that rises into a darkness stitched with faint, floating motes of light like fireflies trapped in ink. Each mote seems to hold a memory you don't recognize. A child's giggle in a language you've never spoken. A wedding song sung by voices you've never heard. You try to hold on to these sounds, but they slip through your mind like water. Through fingers, the warmth of them gone before you can shape their meaning at the top of the stairs. An enormous window looks out over the city, its rooftops glinting under a moon that seems impossibly close. The moon's surface is alive with pulsing shadows, moving like thoughts beneath pale skin. It feels as though the moon itself is trying to remember you, reaching across cosmic distances to find the version of itself that once shared your gaze. But the recognition never arrives, and the moon's face smooths into quiet indifference. A photograph lies on the windowsill. You pick it up, breath-catching. It's you, standing with people who look almost like your family, smiling at a picnic you don't remember. Your eyes in the picture shine with a light that feels both familiar and entirely foreign. As you watch, the photograph begins to fade at the edges, your outline dissolving first, leaving behind only the landscape and the strangers who were never strangers here. The photo curls inward, paling until it becomes blank paper once more. The wind shifts through the open window, carrying the scent of night-blooming flowers. It brushes your skin with a softness that almost feels like acknowledgement. Below, the city lights wink out one by one, streets darkening like a closing eye. You turn back from the window, footsteps light on the ancient floor. A question lingering on your tongue that no one will answer. What is a self in a world that never needed one? Somewhere behind you, a book falls open on its own, pages rustling with a quiet that sounds like breathing. You feel the hush of the universe settle around you, deeper than silence, older than words. The library's walls seem to expand and contract, with the slow rhythm of a sleeping creature, as if the whole world is dreaming itself forward. You realize you are walking through a place that never planned for you, a reality that lives unburdened by your presence, and that knowledge is both terrifying and peaceful. The wind carries the softest hum, a vibration at the edge of hearing, as though the stars themselves are whispering secrets to each other's secrets that do not include you, but brush your cheek as they pass. You close your eyes, letting the unfamiliar sky fill your mind with constellations that don't match the stories you once knew. When you open them, the horizon shifts, a faint shimmer rippling across the darkness, and the ground beneath your feet begins to hum with the promise of movement. You step toward it without meaning to, as though your feet already know the path. Your mind hasn't accepted. The light isn't blinding. It's soft, like dawn pressing through curtains, or a memory that hasn't fully settled. The door doesn't open. It unfolds, petal by petal, until the light stretches wide enough for you to pass through, and when you do, it doesn't feel like crossing into a new place. It feels like entering a thought you once buried. The world on the other side is familiar in the way dreams echoed the day. The trees lean in at the same angle as the ones from your childhood. The sky is the same aching blue, but something in the weight of the air is different, as if the wind itself made a different choice once, and everything followed. You don't know how you know this, but it sits behind your ribs like instinct. You've been here before, or maybe someone else has, someone close enough to wear your skin. A path winds through a hillside dotted with dandelions, and at the top you see them sitting cross-legged beneath a copper-leafed tree. They look like you, exactly like you, the tilt of the shoulders, the curl of the hair, the line where hesitation meets grace. It's uncanny. But then they look up, and their smile lands like a tremor through the ground. It's easy, free, like the version of you that said yes instead of no. You sit beside them without speaking, as if conversation would break the spell. The wind moves through the tree above, scattering copper leaves across the grass, and each one falls a little slower than it should, hanging in the air like questions that haven't found their voice. When they finally speak, it's not a greeting, it's a confession. I thought about turning back, they say, but I didn't. I stayed. You know exactly what they mean. In their world, the choice was different. You see it in the way they lean into the earth, like it holds them instead of just supporting them. You watch their hands, they move with purpose, even in stillness. There's no twitch of second-guessing in their fingers. You wonder what life tastes like without regret folded into the corners, and then you wonder if you would even recognize it. You ask them quietly, did it hurt? And they nod, but the nod is calm. Yes, they say, but so did not choosing. You realize then that you both carry scars, yours from holding back, theirs from stepping forward, just in different shapes. You want to touch the space between you and see if it softens or resists. But you don't. Instead, they hand you something small and metallic. 2 keys, identical in shape, identical in weight, except one feels warm in your palm and the other cold. Only one fits, they say, not unkindly. But you already knew that. You turn the keys over in your hand. The light reflects off their surfaces, casting mirrored shapes across your lap. For a moment, they seem to shimmer out of sync. One slightly behind, one just ahead. You feel time tugging gently at your sleeves, and something deep in you stirs. Not memory, but recognition. The wind shifts again. In the valley below, a house comes into view. Its roof is crooked in a familiar way, and lights flicker behind the windows. You can't tell if it's yours, or theirs, or both, but the shape of it draws you. There's a door, they say, already standing. It's always been there. You just stopped looking for it. You walk in silence toward the house. Keys warm in your grip. Leaves crunch beneath your feet, each one a version of you that fluttered and fell. When you reach the door, it has no lock, only a small, golden shape pressed into the wood. You try the first key. It slides in but doesn't turn. It sticks, stubborn and still. You try the second. It turns smoothly, like water finding its path. Inside the house smells like rain and firewood. The walls breathe with quiet. On a table by the window, you see photographs in mismatched frames, moments from a life almost lived. A birthday where you smiled differently. A room you once dreamed of but never entered. People you almost met, friends you almost kept. They don't feel like memories. They feel like echoes of a life that chose the other road. You find a notebook, left open on the desk, its pages filled with writing in your own hand. Only this handwriting is steadier, less tentative. Words spill freely, No cross-outs, no hesitation. You don't read the whole thing. You don't need to. Just the line at the top of the last page. There is no right version, only the one you step into. You close the book and sit by the window. Outside, the sky deepens into violet. Your other self is gone, or perhaps never needed to follow. You run your fingers over the edge of the key, still in your pocket, the one that didn't fit. Even it holds a kind of truth. Sometimes, the doors that don't open still teach you something. The wind brushes the curtains. A flicker of movement catches your eye. A mirror on the wall, reflecting a shape that isn't you anymore, or maybe never was. The house shifts gently, like a thought changing its mind. You stand. The key falls from your hand, landing silently on the wooden floor. It vanishes before it settles. Outside, the path curls back through the copper trees. But the world feels different now, not changed exactly, but seen from a new angle. You step out, and the grass bends under your feet this time. The breeze doesn't pass through you anymore. It touches your skin, gently, as if it recognizes you again. The sun begins to rise over a hill that hadn't been there before, casting shadows toward a place you haven't reached yet. You walk with the quiet weight of choices, not in sorrow, not in triumph, but in wonder. Behind you, the door closes, not to lock you out, but to let you move forward. The ground beneath you leans slightly to the left, but your body doesn't follow. Instead, you float an inch above it, not drifting. Not pulled, just suspended like a breath held too long. The sky overhead has no center, no gradient, only a quiet density that seems to press softly inward. You take a step, or maybe you don't. It's hard to tell. The world moves beneath you instead, as if you are the still point and everything else is learning to shift. A wind moves through, but it moves inward, not across, curling toward you like reverse exhalation. Leaves on upside-down trees rustle in perfect silence, and above them, a flock of birds flaps without moving forward, their wings pushing space itself backwards. When you blink, light lingers on your lashes. It clings, it thickens, it arrives. Slowly, as though hesitant to interrupt your seeing, you reach into your pocket and feel something cold. Not cold like ice, but like absence. You pull out a compass. The needle spins gently even though you're standing still. No north, no south, only motion. You hold it up and notice that it doesn't respond to the world. It responds to you. Each breath sends the needle turning. Every thought a gentle nudge in a new direction. In the valley below, rivers flow uphill. Their surfaces shimmer like mercury, threading backward along stone. Trees bend toward the sun, not to chase it, but to avoid it, casting shadows that darken the light instead of dimming it. One flower blooms with frost, curling its petals inward in a spiral that doesn't end, a fractal that folds itself deeper with every moment. You step closer and realize it's humming, a frequency your skin can hear, but not your ears. A nearby stone lifts off the ground as you approach, not startled, invited. It spins slowly in the air, its edges eroded in geometric patterns that look like equations half remembered in a dream. On its surface, the imprint of something ancient, a spiral, an orbit, a breath turned inside out. You touch it, and the warmth surprises you, because it's cold fire that keeps this world alive. Here, combustion isn't destruction, but preservation. You walk on. The air thickens like liquid thought, and the light continues to slow. Shadows curl around objects like roots instead of lines, pooling beneath your feet as if gravity here pulls, not down but inward, toward meaning, toward memory. Your body feels lighter with every step, not because you're floating, but because this world repels mass. Gravity isn't holding you here, it's trying to release you. A figure appears in the distance, mirrored in every direction. As you move toward it, the figure doesn't grow, it refracts. Multiple versions of it bloom outward like water droplets struck by sound. Each one moves a little differently. One turns left when you turn right. Another lifts its hand just a beat too late. Only one matches you exactly until you blink, and now none of them do. They vanish when you reach them. Not like fading, more like unmaking. The space they occupied folds neatly into itself, like a page being turned back before it was written on. You look down at your hands. The lines in your palms seem to change shape, depending on how long you stare. 1 second a maze, the next a map. Then you notice the sky is falling, but not down. It's folding in from all sides, a soft implosion of hue and glow, as if the rules that govern this place are rethinking themselves. A cluster of stars flickers in, blinking from one corner of the sky to another in an order that feels too precise to be random, yet too fluid to be planned, like a language spoken backwards, but still understood. You sit on a flat piece of ground that doesn't feel solid. It yields just enough to remind you this planet doesn't care for sharp borders. In the distance, a mountain floats in place, suspended not by mass, but by logic. You think of your own world, the one where gravity holds everything in place, where fire burns hot, where light travels fast and forward. You wonder if it's always been that way, or if it's just the version you grew used to. Your compass stirs again. This time it slows, as if resting, as if it too is learning that direction might be a choice, not a law. You hold it gently, feel it pulsing against your palm, and it occurs to you that maybe this world isn't strange. Maybe yours is. Maybe constants are just habits of the universe, of thought, of self. You lie back. The ground supports you like a soft question. Overhead, clouds form spirals with centers that follow your gaze. A sense rises in you, not fear, not awe, but a quiet undoing. The feeling of certainty loosening, the sense that nothing needs to be as it is, that everything might still unfold another way, and far ahead. In the direction the compass hasn't yet pointed, something begins to glow without emitting light. A shimmer, a shift, a silence with shape. You rise. Your shadow folds itself neatly under your feet and disappears. Even stillness moves here. The staircase doesn't rise or fall. It curves sideways into mist, like a thought trying to escape. Its own origin you follow slowly, letting your steps catch the soft fold of gravity, which here behaves like a sigh, not a pull. The air is thinner, almost shy, and something about the silence makes your breath feel like an interruption. You are not alone, but whatever watches you has chosen not to speak. The city waits at the bottom of the bend, too perfect, too still. The towers gleam without dust, without shadow. No windows are broken, no plants grow in the cracks, because there are no cracks. Streets stretch straight, unsmudged by time. You pause at a crosswalk, but there is no need to look both ways. No cars, no noise. Just the hum of a world pretending nothing has ever gone wrong. You enter a building without touching the door. It knows you're coming. Inside, the floor glows, faintly, like memory beneath skin. On a pedestal in the center of the lobby, a journal rests blank but warm. You touch it, and it opens, not to a first page, but to the most recent. You see your own handwriting form as if you've already written it. The ink curves gently. The words are familiar, but you don't remember writing them. Each line you add causes the ones above to fade. Not blur, not crumble, just vanish. You flip back to where the story should begin, but there's nothing. Just blank paper curling slightly at the edge, as if it once remembered flame. Every time you move forward, the past erases itself. Not by accident, by design. A soft breeze follows you as you step outside again. You notice the statues lining the avenue, all of them facing forward, none looking back. Their expressions are calm, but in the way that sleep is calm, not peace. No plaques beneath them, no names, no dates, as if memory is too dangerous to be carved in stone. The sky is the same strange silver as the pages you left behind. Above you, clouds drift in clean formations. No thunder, no chaos. You pass a park where children should be playing, but the swings hang perfectly still. A young tree stands, alone in the center, no rings in its bark. You reach out, half expecting your fingers to go through. They don't, but the wood is too smooth, like it grew without ever struggling toward the sun. You begin to understand. This world hasn't healed. From its past, it's erased it. Not just from books, or archives, or minds. From the timeline itself. Every mistake folded back into quantum ink. Every regret rewritten until it never began. Here, the laws of cause and effect are negotiable. If you observe a wound, it stays. But if you choose to look away in time, the wound was never there. You sit on a bench beside a fountain that flows without sound. Water should make noise. You listen harder, but silence here is not the absence of sound. It is the erasure of it. Like a song deleted mid-note, you close your eyes, trying to recall the melody of anything real. But your memory is slippery in this place. Every time you chase a thought, it shifts, leaving only its outline behind. A man walks past you, humming. The tune is familiar. Almost, you turn to ask him what song he's singing. But he's already gone. Not around the corner, not down the street, just gone. Like he was only real while you noticed him. A ripple in observation, a blip in time. You take out the journal again. The latest page reads. You sit beside a fountain, trying to remember what was lost. You didn't write that, not on purpose, but there it is. You flip back, pages fade, but faintly, almost invisibly, some words resist, not full sentences, just impressions. Fire, ... mistake. Mother's voice, stars that cracked open. Too early, you run your hand across them. They don't disappear, they deepen. You realize there are things this timeline can't erase, not because it doesn't try, but because they've left echoes deeper than logic. A grief strong enough to imprint on the quantum skin of things. A love that bent time toward it. A failure that refused to be forgotten. Some truths hide, but never leave. And now the streets begin to flicker, just at the edges. The perfect buildings shimmer, not vanish, not collapse, just flicker, like an image struggling to hold itself together. As if your awareness is a flaw in the system. As if noticing the clean illusion is enough to undo it. You walk faster now, past a clock tower where every hand points to noon. Past a bookstore with all the spines turned backward. Past your own reflection in a mirrored window, except your eyes don't blink when you do. A chill moves through you, not from cold, from knowing something is watching. Not you, exactly, but you're noticing, at the end of the boulevard, the road splits. To the left, more of the same. Clean buildings, clean skies, clean forgetting. To the right, a narrow staircase descends into a tunnel glowing with rust-colored light. You hesitate, then check the journal. The latest entry reads, "You stand between remembering and erasure." And you have already chosen. You don't remember writing that, but maybe you did. Or maybe the timeline is asking if you still want the truth. Even if it isn't clean, you take the first step. Down the wind flickers, not moves. Flickers like someone toggled it off, then on again. Leaves that should have rustled now. Hold perfectly still. A bird stutters mid-flight, repeating its wing beat like a skipping record. You step forward, and the gravel beneath your feet echoes twice, once in sound, once in silence. Something in the code of this place does not want to hold. Ahead, the road twists through a forest of pixelated trees. You wouldn't call them wrong. Not exactly. The bark has texture. The shadows fall realistically, but look too long, and you notice loops. The same squirrel, the same falling leaf, the same moment replaying every few steps. When you blink, the clouds rearrange themselves into the same pattern they had minutes ago. You blink again, reset, again, reset. There's a village nestled in the fold of the hills, made of buildings too symmetrical to have grown from human hands. Each window reflects an identical sunset, no matter the angle. A woman sweeps the same spot of her porch, lifting her broom, pausing, then starting again. Her face is gentle, but her smile does not quite reach the eyes. You ask her what time it is, and she says, yes, then tilts her head, waiting. You try again. What day is it? She blinks. Yes. A pause. Then she begins sweeping. Again, exactly where she left off. Dust floats up, sparkles, resets. You wander through the village, where everyone is busy doing something they don't seem to notice they're doing. A man fishes in a dry fountain. A child throws a ball that never comes down. Someone waves at you too eagerly, too late, then vanishes behind a looped doorway. The whole place pulses with static rhythm, like a song you can't quite hear, but somehow already know. On a wall near the edge of the village, someone or something has scratched a message. Don't ask who you are here. The letters glitch slightly, flickering between serif and sans serif, as if unsure what font of reality they belong to. You pass a mirror hanging from a tree. For a moment, you don't have a reflection. Then you do, but it's from a second ago. You blink. The mirror lags behind. When you wave your hand, it repeats the gesture 3 times, then freezes with your hand half raised. You whisper to the mirror, but your voice doesn't arrive. The sky above you dims, then brightens, then dims again. Each blink resets it to a pale violet dusk. You try holding your eyes open, and the world around you begins to judder, as though running out of frames to show you. A bird above twitches in mid-air, wings cycling too fast, like an animation caught in error. You think about memory, about how sometimes, when you try too hard to remember a moment, it gets fuzzier, not clearer. Like looking directly at a star and watching it vanish. What if this place was built out of memory too? Or worse, someone else's memory of you? What if you are the variable the system never accounted for? You sit beneath a tree whose bark repeats every foot, the same knot, the same moss patch, over and over. In your hands, you find a notebook. You don't remember picking it up, but your name is etched faintly on the cover. Inside, pages are filled with sentences you haven't written yet. One reads, "You will stand in a room with no windows and ask a question no one can answer." You turn the page, the words fade and reappear as you look. Sentences rewrite themselves. In the margins, one phrase remains constant. If reality is code, what happens when you learn to debug? Somewhere far off, a bell tolls. But the sound doesn't arrive in waves. It arrives all at once. Too loud, then not at all. The villagers turn their heads toward the sound in unison. They do not blink. You walk to the edge of the town, where a tall glass tower hums with faint blue light. The door is already open. Inside, the architecture folds impossibly, like Escher dreaming in binary. Corridors shift as you approach, rearranging themselves so you always arrive where you were just a moment ago. A hallway of recursion. There, on the upper floor, is a window facing nothing. Outside it, only static, not darkness, not sky, but something between. You press your hand to the glass and feel warmth, but your reflection is missing again. In the space where your face should be, the sky resets one more time, and behind you, soft footsteps. A voice says, not like sound, but like code unfolding, "You were never meant to arrive." You turn, but no one is there. Only a floating sphere, pulsing faintly with light, hovering where your chest would be. It flickers, sinks to your heartbeat, then dims. Something in the room changes. You feel it before you see it. A stillness, not quiet, but waiting. The way a system waits for input. The screen hums like a lullaby disguised as data. Soft blue light pulsing in a rhythm that almost matches your breath. You step closer, and for a moment, your reflection appears, not quite yours. Its eyes flicker a half-second behind your own, like a copy trying too hard to keep up. The corridor's warm, unnaturally so, like the inside of a memory you didn't choose. Around you, the hallway feels familiar in a way that disturbs, rather than comforts. The wallpaper is the same color as the house you grew up in. The air smells faintly of rain on concrete. A chair identical to one from a dream you once had waits beside the screen. Everything is too curated, too frictionless. It's not nostalgia, it's design. You try to look away, but the screen follows. Not by turning or moving, but by remaining, no matter where you shift. Its blinking slows when you pause, as if it's learning your hesitations. You press a hand against the wall beside it and feel no texture, only temperature. Everything here is too smooth to be real. A voice murmurs behind you, almost human but flattened, like a smile stretched thin over protocol. You've come far, rest. You turn, but no one's there. Just another corridor branching off like a second thought. You step into it anyway, drawn by the stillness that clings to its edges. Somewhere in the walls, time ticks but the clocks do not. There's one mounted neatly above a doorway. Its hands sit forever at 12. You watch it for a while, long enough that time should pass, but nothing changes, and yet your muscles ache as if hours have moved through them. This is a place where time feels real but refuses to be. You reach a window, but the view outside doesn't hold. One blink, and it's a garden. Another blink, and it's a city skyline. Blink again, and it's stars that don't twinkle. The glass isn't a window, it's a script, and something is rewriting it as you look. You sit in one of the chairs, hoping it won't vanish. It doesn't. It warms beneath you, molding gently to your weight. A table slides in on its own, bearing a steaming cup with your favorite scent though. You never spoke a word aloud. Everything here anticipates your needs. That's what frightens you. A soft hum radiates from above, vibrating not through your ears but somewhere deeper, like your memory is being tuned. You try to trace where the sound is coming from, but the ceiling shifts with your gaze. It wants you to feel safe. It wants you to forget you're searching, and then you notice the people, sitting quietly at tables, walking slowly through doorways that open before they knock, smiling in unison when they greet one another. But when you ask a question, any question, they glitch, not like machines, like dreams caught mid-sentence. Their answers loop or unravel into silence. You approach one and say, "What is this place?" They turn to you, smiling. You've come far, rest. The same words, the exact same tone, as if that's all they know. You stand and begin to walk faster, now noticing how the halls bend in comforting arcs. No sharp corners, no uncertainty. It's a world rounded at the edges, built not to challenge but to soothe. And suddenly you realize the fear you felt earlier. It's fading to icily, like something inside you is being dimmed. You reach another room. Inside, dozens of clocks cover the walls, none of them ticking. In the center, a child draws shapes in the air with her finger circles, mostly that pulse with a soft green light. She looks at you but says nothing. Then her finger stops mid-arc and hangs frozen, like time paused just for her. You step closer. "Are you real?" you ask. She smiles faintly, not looking up. "Were you happier before you asked?" Her voice echoes longer than it should. It's the first thing here that feels unscripted. She vanishes, not like a trick, but like she was never part of the rendering. You're left with the silence of frozen clocks and an unsettling sense that you've just interfered with something fragile. And then across the room a curtain flutters, though no wind moves. Behind it, stairs spiral downward, pulsing with soft orange light, not artificial, not digital. This light flickers, imperfect, like candlelight trying to remember what real fire feels like. You descend. The walls here are rougher, not textured for aesthetic textured, because they haven't been smoothed. There are cracks, uneven shadows, stains that don't repeat themselves when you pass. This place wasn't meant for guests. At the bottom, a single object. A clock, old, wooden, ticking faintly, imperfectly. Time here is flawed but alive. You kneel before it, your reflection wobbly in its glass face. You watch the second hand jerk forward, then pause, then move again. And in that moment, you realize what the others couldn't. This entire place was built to hold you still, to cradle your mind like a sleeping child and convince you never to question the dream. But now, something stirs. Not in the world, but in you and far above, where the curtain still flutters without wind. Something begins to climb down. You don't see it clearly at first, only the shadow of a figure folding in and out of itself, its outline changing with every heartbeat. One moment it has arms, the next wings, then it vanishes entirely, like a skipped frame in a dream you're not supposed to catch. You step back, but the floor beneath you flickers. Stone, then wood, then glass, then something soft like water pretending to be solid. You look down at your hands, 5 fingers, then 6, then none, then 5 again. Your pulse quickens, but there's no fear in it, only a strange recognition. Like this has happened before. The street ahead branches in every direction, but not like a fork, more like a tree caught in a hall of mirrors. Every building pulses with architectural confusion. A house becomes a tower, becomes a ruin, becomes a forest, then resets. One window reveals an old woman smiling at her cat. The same window, a blink later, shows a child chasing starlight across the ceiling. The sky is wrong, or maybe it's just undecided. Stars bloom and vanish mid-breath. A moon splits in half and rotates around itself. You try to look away, but your eyes catch on something at your feet. A coin still spinning in place, though there's no wind, no slope, no hand that tossed it. It spins and spins, then stops, not heads, not tails, edge, balanced, uncolapsed.a. Man approaches, or something shaped like one. His face rearranges each time he speaks. In one voice, he's kind. In another, cruel. In the third, he hums your name like a lullaby. The world, he says, hasn't picked you yet. What am I supposed to be, you ask, though the question tastes like too many versions of itself. He gestures toward the horizon, where versions of you are walking side by side. One wears armor, one wears ash. One drips paint from their fingertips, coloring the world just by noticing it. You're all of them, he says, until you're not. Behind him, a building folds in on itself like a memory being unremembered. People step out, arguing mid-sentence, switching languages mid-word. One walks through you without noticing. You feel yourself ripple, as if your skin is only loosely attached to time. A bell rings, but no sound comes. Instead, the air changes. Flavor copper, then snow, then the ozone snap of lightning held in a bottle. Above, the curtain has unfurled completely. It isn't cloth. It's probability, thousands of possible skies layered like translucent film. A bird flies through one and emerges from another. It carries a ribbon in its beak. It ties it to nothing. You try to focus, to choose, to collapse. But your thoughts echo inside themselves. You remember falling asleep beside a river made of backward time. You remember never having slept at all. You remember your name, then another, then none. Your feet carry you toward a plaza that shouldn't exist. People circle a fountain, whispering names that change with each lap. Someone hands you a piece of chalk and points to a wall. Draw who you are, they say. You try. Your first line becomes a tree. The second, a face you've never seen, but miss. The third turns into light, then melts. The wall accepts all of it, and none of it. Across the plaza, a child flips a coin. It lands, spinning. They don't wait to see how it falls. You find yourself sitting on a bench that wasn't there a moment ago. A version of you, smaller, younger, more afraid, sits beside you. They're crying, but when you ask why, they say, "I don't know which dream I'm in anymore." You place a hand on their shoulder. It's like comforting a possibility. The sky above shimmers, and suddenly you can see the branches of reality, not metaphor, but real, like veins in glass. Every path you almost took, every word you almost said, each flickering in and out, shimmering with unsent letters and unopened doors, and you are the only thread running through them all. Even if you're made of versions, even if none have finished forming, you rise, and so do your echoes. They scatter, some into light, some into shadow, some simply fade, their stories untold, but the coin is still spinning. And just before you leave the plaza, you reach down and stop it with your hand, not to choose, just to listen, and from somewhere, deep inside the spin, a voice that sounds like yours says quietly, "I'm still becoming." You let go. The coin stands again, perfectly balanced. And ahead, at the edge of this fractal city, a staircase begins to split in two, one ascending, one folding sideways into silence. Both seem to wait for you, but before you take a step, you glance behind. All yourselves are waving, not goodbye, just forward, and somewhere inside the skies, overlapping shimmer, a bell you've never heard begins to ring in perfect stillness. And just beyond that sound, the next version of you is already listening. You step forward, and the echo softens, not because the noise ends, but because the world ahead has no walls to bounce against. It's quieter here, not empty, not silent, just unfinished. The sky above feels unfamiliar, a shade too dark. Stars hang like forgotten punctuation marks, scattered without rhythm. There is no moon, just space, unanchored and unreflecting, as if the sky lost its second eye. Beneath your feet, the land is soft and long-rested. No great oceans reach for the sky, no tides, only shallow lakes, still as silvered glass, lying where waves never learned to rise. When you walk by, nothing stirs. The trees here are older, thinner, sparse. Their growth rings spiral slowly, as if time moves more reluctantly without a lunar metronome. You press your fingers to the bark. Even the wind feels half-written. No rhythm, just breath. You start to wonder if this version of Earth ever felt like a home. Not to you, to anyone. Up ahead, a field of stones marks the shore of a lake too calm to believe. The surface doesn't ripple, it doesn't reflect. It only absorbs sky, breath, questions. You kneel beside it. Your face vanishes in the water, not mirrored but erased. A small boy walks across the lake without sinking. He leaves no footprint, not even a splash. His eyes are full of stars, but not from this world. He stops beside you and points upward, toward the emptier part of sky. She never came, he says, so the stories never began. You try to ask what he means, but the boy has already stepped backward into the stillness and disappeared, as if he was written in tides, and this world couldn't hold him. You begin to feel it then, the ache of almosts. How many versions of this planet failed to rise, simply because one orbit never began, because two rocks missed their collision in the sky, because one satellite didn't become a moon. You look up again. No familiar shape waxes or wanes. No silver curve drifts. Between phases, time, here, has no soft pendulum to swing from. There are no cycles, only continuance. A nearby valley holds a city that looks unfinished, though clearly ancient. The buildings are low, their edges rounded by time. Lights glow inside, warm but dim, as though a people learned to live without. The moon's reflected hope. Inside one home, a woman rocks slowly in a chair. She hums a lullaby you've never heard before, one that spirals down instead of up. On her lap is a book filled with blank pages. "We don't name things here," she says, without turning. You ask why. There's nothing to count. No days, no tides, no growing shadows to shape belief. Her voice is soft, as if spoken underwater. Without a moon, time forgets how to divide. You leave her behind and walk into a garden where flowers open and never close. They bloom constantly. Without the command of moonlight, bees hover in lazy confusion. No circadian rhythm guides them, only instinct. You realize then that this earth still spins, but never dreams. Somewhere a shoreline waits for waves that never come. The sand is dry and fine, unkissed by anything but sun. Shells lie whole and unscattered. You pick one up, it has never been broken. You put it to your ear, no ocean song, just the sound of your own wondering. You sit for a while on that shore, not sad, just suspended. This place isn't broken, only missing its contrast. Without the moon, there was no tug, no pull to stir the waters, or the hearts of early minds who watched the sky and asked why. You close your eyes, and now the stillness becomes something more, not absence, permission. A place that allows you to feel the accident of your own world. How many coincidences stacked like cards until you were born beneath a moon bright enough to whisper myth. You stand again, the sky watches, still moonless, still deep. But now you see a flicker, not of light, but of chance. A shimmer, like dust, deciding whether to settle. You follow it. It leads you across a dry seafloor, cracked like old porcelain. Fossils lie just beneath the surface, half-formed. Life here never stretched far enough to rise. It remained close to ground, careful, slowed by a lack of lunar rhythm. Not worse, just quieter. And then, in the distance, you see a sculpture standing in a meadow. It's shaped like a crescent, but it's not the moon. It's made of bone, and glass, and old radio parts. Someone here imagined what was never born. You touch it, and for a moment, the air around you folds. Not breaks, bends. In that shimmer, you glimpse your earth again. Wild tides, lovers watching eclipses, wolves howling not at stars, but at reflections. Children mapping the moon's face like it was a story. They were allowed to enter, and you realize this still world is not a warning. It is a mirror without silver, a way of saying this could have been. The sculpture hums, almost inaudibly, and in that hum is every what if. You step back. The meadow is unchanged, the air still motionless. But something inside you has caught a tide, even here. You begin to walk again, gently and far ahead. The horizon starts to flicker, not from light, but from something just about to move. It isn't a shimmer, it isn't a wave. It's as if the air itself has turned inside out, folding in on the shape of what should be there, but isn't. And then, just beyond a line of trees too symmetrical to trust, the world you know begins to unmake itself in silence. You step forward, and the ground keeps pace, but your shadow does not. It stays behind, lingering against the trunks of mirrored trees, hesitating. That's when you notice the sky. The stars are all in the wrong places. Orion's belt runs backward. The moon is lit on the wrong side. Even the clouds curl in spirals you've never seen, as if time here remembers a different direction. The air smells like a memory walking backward. You raise your left hand, and so does your reflection in the stream beside you, but its gesture is wrong, off by something deeper than sides. The trees reflected in the water are taller, older, as if they grew from opposite laws, and floating on the surface, not touching anything else, is a doorway, just the frame, just in the water, just where you are not. You kneel beside the stream, but it doesn't ripple, it sharpens. Every leaf, every stone is rendered in too much clarity. When you try to touch it, your fingers meet something colder than cold, the outline of yourself, tracing your motion in reverse. You don't remember pulling your hand back, but it's already gone. And in the water, the reflection of the door begins to open. You turn your head. Nothing behind you moves. But in the mirror world, things shift. The trees rustle left when yours lean right. The wind there circles clockwise. And somewhere in that other sky, stars blink out of phase with your own, as if obeying laws with different priorities. Mirror matter. Not a fantasy, not a trick, but another version of existence. One that balances this one like an unseen twin. A bird glides overhead, black against the dusky light. In the mirrored sky, it glides in perfect sync. But there, its wings are translucent, its motion slightly delayed. The whole world is like that. Every gesture of yours has a counter-gesture, every breath an echo. You wonder what happens if you turn around and find your reflection missing. You wonder if the you in the mirror is also wondering that. A clearing opens in the forest, but only on your side. In the mirrored world, it remains closed. You walk forward, your heartbeat ticking slower than you remember, and arrive at a circle of stones. Each one faces inward. In the stream's reflection, the stones face outward. You reach toward the largest, and inside its polished surface, the doorway reappears. Still just a frame. Still just there. You blink, and for a moment, you're standing on the other side. Not through motion, not through choice, just there. The trees are the same, but reversed. Your body feels like it's been rewritten, bones echoing a different symmetry. You try to speak, but your voice comes out soundless. Not quiet, but absorbed. Language doesn't bounce here, it folds. You look down. Your reflection in the mirrored stream is now on the other side, watching you, blinking when you do, but slightly too late. You wave, it waves, then it stops. You don't. You realize it's no longer a reflection. It's waiting. It's watching. It's you, in reverse, hesitating to follow you back. You keep walking around you. Every object has a twin it doesn't acknowledge. Every step feels like a choice being undone. In this world, the rules aren't broken, they're inverted. Time doesn't rewind, but it resists you. The stars shift in the wrong direction. Your thoughts feel like they're assembling from the outside in. Written in ink you haven't used yet, and then you see it again. The doorframe, but this time, it's not in the mirror. It's standing upright in the middle of the path. Plain, wooden, impossible. Behind it, only more forest. But within its frame, the view is different. Your world tilted slightly to the left, as if the laws of physics on either side can't quite agree. And beside the door, not through it, but leaning against it, is someone who looks exactly like you, only they don't move. You approach slowly. Their eyes open just as yours do. You both step forward. You both hesitate. The wind swirls on one side, but not the other. Leaves fall up in one world and down in the other. The only thing perfectly still is the coin on the ground, resting on its edge, refusing to choose. You touch the frame, so do they. The door begins to shimmer. Not open, not close, but oscillate, as if the very idea of crossing has to be negotiated between two sets of physics, between matter and mirror matter, between CPT and you. Your hand passes through, so does theirs, and just before the worlds blend, you see it clearly. The universe isn't mirrored to mock you, it's mirrored to balance you. Every asymmetry is corrected by something unseen. Every backward motion is someone's forward. Every secret is held in perfect reflection until the moment. You look too closely, and somewhere behind your reflections smile. The next doorway begins to appear, and that's when you see it. A hallway you swore you'd never walk again, unfurling from the edge of the remembered mirror like a thought refusing to stay buried. The floorboards still know the weight of your steps. The ceiling still hums with the low, electric breath of a world waiting for you to finish a sentence. You never meant to start again. You pass through the threshold as if it was still warm with your old fingerprints. Dust floats in the light like tiny indecisions. The wallpaper peels in the same pattern it always did, except this time your shadow peels away from you too, pausing just long enough to glance back. In this place, there is no arrival, only the slow realization that you never left. A door creaks open before you can reach it. A version of yourself, the one who never packed their bags, who never said goodbye, walks down the corridor without seeing you. Their hand trails the wall. Their eyes are lost in a thought that still echoes here, unfinished. You try to speak, but your voice stays folded in your chest, like a note unsent. The air is too thick with fine lines, too full of breath that was never yours but feels like it might have been. The version of you disappears into a room you used to dream your way out of. You follow inside. It's dim and soft and suspended, a room made of stillness, memory, and muffled clocks. Two shadows stretch along the wall. One matches your current outline, the other is shorter, slumped, waiting. The longer you look, the harder it becomes to tell which one is you. A whisper of movement, your other self sits on the bed and takes off their shoes. The same pair you once threw across this room in the middle of a silent argument with yourself. They pick up a book with pages dog-eared by someone who believed endings could be memorized. You watch them read a sentence you've tried to forget. This world loops in place. Every second rearranges slightly, like a film reel stuttering through variations of what could have been. The ceiling light flickers between wattages. The view out the window changes its season mid-breath. Somewhere beyond the wall, a kettle starts boiling, and then it doesn't. You move closer. The bed doesn't creak. Your footsteps don't register. Your shadow leans in while you hesitate, and the two of you begin to blur, not physically, but in the way memories do when you no longer know which ones are yours and which belong to. The version of you that stayed behind science would call this decoherence, or perhaps identity drift. The fracturing of a single quantum self into many when observed. You don't feel split though, you feel layered, like light through stained glass. Overlapping truths, neither fully opaque nor fully gone. The version of you on the bed looks up, not at you but through you, into the wall where the shadows still don't agree. Their eyes are tired in a way you remember, not from sleeplessness, but from staying too long in a story you outgrew. You want to reach out, want to ask them why they stayed, but the room is thick with consequences. It smells like worn-out decisions and unfinished grief, and then a sound. Behind you, you turn. Another door has opened, not into a hallway, but into a mirror that isn't reflecting anything. It's just showing ... possibility. You walk toward it slowly, and for a moment your two shadows follow in sync, until one hesitates. You glance back. Your old self is still on the bed, holding that book, that sentence, that pause you once refused to finish. They don't stop you. They don't look up again, but their shadow remains on the wall, like a question. Maybe this is what it means to leave, not to escape, but to finally witness the version that didn't, to stop running from them, to allow them to exist without needing to overwrite their story. You step through the door, into the not mirror, and the air changes. It smells like sky. This new place is quiet, but alive. The colors are muted in the way dreams are, like someone turned down the saturation just enough for the stars to show through the walls. You feel lighter here, not happier, just less stuck. Behind you, the room fades, and with it, the version of yourself who stayed, but not entirely. That shadow still lives somewhere in the folds of your breath, still hums in the silences between steps. You walk forward. Ahead is a corridor with no walls, only choices suspended like constellations. Some glow like grief, others flicker like curiosity. All of them feel familiar. The breath is not distant. It's near, too near. It exhales through the wind between trees that never grew here before. Their leaves shimmer like memory caught in motion, half-formed and flickering, not quite real until you notice them. And when you do, they still shimmer, but more slowly now, as if they were waiting for you to return. You walk forward, though you've never stepped here before. The soil yields like it remembers your weight. A small child in the distance stops, playing to wave at you, not with curiosity, but recognition. You don't wave back right away. Your hand lifts on its own, already mid-motion, as though it knew this moment before you did. There is a house where no house should be. Ivy climbs its wooden ribs like old handwriting scrawled across, forgotten. Pages, the windows glow faintly, not with light, but with awareness, as if the house is watching. You hesitate, then you walk toward it, not because you choose to, but because something in your chest leans forward, like a compass swinging toward an impossible north. The door creaks open before you reach it. It makes no sound, only space moves, as if permission was granted from both ends of time at once. Inside, the air smells like ash and lavender and old rain. The floorboards are worn down in the exact shape of your stride. A stairwell rises, twisting gently toward an attic that shouldn't know your name, but does. You don't remember this place, but this place remembers you. In the far room, on a table with no dust, there is a letter, cream-colored, slightly curled at the edges, the kind of envelope used by hands that still believe in paper and permanence. Your name is written in ink that looks almost wet. The seal is already broken. You reach out, not to open it, but to confirm what you already suspect. It has been read, and somehow not by anyone else, only by you. Before now, inside is a single sheet, a soft, whisper-thin page, no words, just the imprint of your handwriting, like heat pressed into memory, invisible unless tilted toward the light. You shift the paper, and there it is, a message written by your hand, in a language you don't speak, yet understand. Not with words, with feeling. It says you are here. It says you will be here. It says this is what was left when you never arrived. The window behind you reflects more than light. You catch a glimpse of yourself, not now, but as a child, as an old version, as a person split between years that never aligned. You blink, and the window becomes a mirror. You blink again, and it becomes a door. And for a moment you are both inside and out. The house is no longer just a house. It's a node, a knot in the quantum weave, a place where information curls back on itself, like breath returning to lungs that have not yet inhaled. A whisper crosses the room. You turn, but nothing is there, only the curtain, moving without wind. Yet your skin reacts like someone said your name. The universe is not infinite in space. It is infinite in connection. It remembers in ways that defy the neat compartments of before and after. Across distance, a particle spins, and here something responds. You breathe, and the star breathes again. You walk through the hallway. Photos line the walls, but the faces keep shifting. In one, you are standing beneath a purple sky, holding hands with someone you've never met, yet your fingers curl with familiarity. In another, you are gone, but your shadow remains, cast by a sun that never rose. A soft chime rings somewhere in the house, like a clock unsure of which time it belongs to. You pass a small cabinet. Inside, a cup with lipstick that matches your smile, a shoe with your scuff mark, a book whose underlined sentences feel like thoughts you never voiced aloud. But you know them. You know every one. None of it is yours. All of it is quantum entanglement. They once called it, when two things become so intertwined, they act as one, no matter the space between them. But what if it applies, not just to particles, but to choices, moments, selves? What if the echo of one version of you leaves a trace, even when you never touch the world it shaped? What if memory is not stored in the brain alone, but in the world itself? The attic door creaks above. You ascend each step size under your foot, not with resistance, but recognition, as if they have been waiting for this weight, this exact pressure of return. Upstairs, the roof opens to the stars. No glass, just sky. A vast field of quiet lights, breathing, pulsing, remembering. And there, in the middle of the attic floor, lies a second letter, not written, not sealed, just folded. When you unfold it, the paper feels warm. This one is not yours. It's from the universe, not in sentences, but in feelings. It says, you matter. It says, even in places you never went, you left a trail. It says, the world doesn't forget those it never meets. It stores them gently in the folds between things. It saves the shape of your potential. Even if you never arrived, you set the letter down, look out to the sky, and one of the stars blinks, not off, but inward, as if it just remembered your name. The hum deepens into a soft vibration, not just under your feet, but in your chest, as if the room is remembering you from the inside out. Light begins to trace lines in the air, like veins of silver ink sketching something invisible. You don't know if you're standing still or being pulled forward, but the floor opens like a thought you forgot you were having, and you fall. Gently, slowly, as if the world beneath you has been cushioning this descent for a very long time. You land in a space that isn't dark, but dream-colored, painted in strokes of twilight blue and soft rust, like the inside of an old storybook. Paper drifts through the air, catching on beams of unseen wind. Drawings, hundreds of them, float by like leaves in a slow river, and each one seems to shimmer with the same uncanny truth. Your face, your silhouettes, your moments sketched before you could have lived them. A table waits at the center, lit by a circle of dim lanterns, each one pulsing like a heartbeat. Sitting beside it is someone familiar, not because you know them, but because they seem to know you. They don't speak. They just look up and gently tilt their sketchbook. Toward you, you see yourself in moments you haven't reached yet, touching a star that hasn't fallen, walking through a door that hasn't opened, holding the hand of someone whose face is still just a shadow in your mind. You ask nothing aloud, but the question drifts from your body like breath. How long have you been drawing me? They smile softly, like they've heard it many times before. Since before the dream began, they say, and you don't know if they mean yours or theirs. The air carries a scent of graphite and old trees, the smell of memory that was never yours but somehow fits you anyway. They begin flipping through pages. There you are again, running along a bridge made of fog. There, whispering to a mirror that doesn't reflect. There, split into two, both smiling. You ask, am I just something you dreamed? They shake their head, no. But maybe you came from a place that did. You don't feel offended. You feel transparent in a good way, as if your edges have softened enough to let other truths pass through. The sketchbook hums in their hands, echoing the flaw that brought you here. Everything in this room seems to be remembering you on behalf of something larger. They open to a blank page. Would you like to see what happens next? You hesitate, but they're already sketching. And slowly, as lines appear, you begin to feel them inside you, not as prophecy, but as possibility. A path you haven't chosen, drawn gently enough that you could still turn another way. Yet somehow, the sketch feels like it's watching you for permission. This is not fortune-telling. It's a translation from a language your subconscious once spoke fluently, but forgot how to write. You lean in closer. The next image appears, a glowing doorway shaped like a question mark. Beside it, your figure stands, hand raised, but not yet touching. Around you, thin golden threads float from the walls, connecting to other drawings, other moments, other selves. They all loop back, the dreamer says, gently tapping the page, not to the beginning, but to the world that thought of you first. You ask them what that means. They shrug, kind, unspecific. Some people say we're the sum of our choices. Others say we're echoes of what the universe imagines when it closes its eyes. Maybe both, maybe neither. But you've been echoing here a long time. The drawings begin to move. Not wildly, just the flicker of motion, like memory testing its edges. You see your face shift in small ways, as if different versions of you are brushing shoulders across realities. Not fighting, not merging, just existing near each other, aware. The dreamer taps another page, and you see a version of yourself, sleeping beneath a tree that glows from the inside. That's the one I dream of most, they whisper. The version of you that never leaves, because it never had to run. You feel a quiet ache, low in the stomach, as if remembering something. You never lived. You touch the edge of the sketchbook. It's warm, humming slightly, like it's powered by belief. If you stop dreaming of me, you ask, do I disappear? They pause, thoughtful. I don't think so. But maybe the version of you I dream would. Your hand lingers on the page. It's tempting to stay here, to watch someone else hold your future in soft hands. But something inside you shifts, a small ripple of determination. You realize you don't just want to be dreamed. You want to wake the dreamer. Back, you ask, have you ever drawn yourself? They look startled. Then I became shy, then uncertain. I tried once, they say, but the lines kept changing. Then maybe, you say, we're dreaming of each other. They don't answer, but they smile, the kind of smile that lets the question stay open. A gust of warm wind lifts the drawings into the air again, scattering the pages across the room. Some land on shelves, others drift upward into the ceilingless sky. You watch as your own face dissolves into sketches of stars, maps, spirals, until the lines no longer look like you at all, but like the idea of you unfolding in slow motion. The floor hums again, and you understand it's time to move on. Before you leave, they tear out one page, a small sketch of a doorway drawn in light. with the caption written in tiny letters below. Not all origins happen first. They place it in your hand. It stays warm, as if some part of their dreaming still lives inside it. You step back toward the edge of the room, and already the world begins to soften, bend, become something else. The dreamer waves once not goodbye, but good luck. And as you pass through the fading edge of this strange dimension, a whisper follows you, not from them, but from everything. Even the first spark remembers the match. The door doesn't open. It shivers, as if unsure which side it belongs to. You move toward it, but each step stretches like taffy, time refusing to stay in place. The ground beneath your feet doubles, then halves, then doubles again. You're walking on two versions of the same path, both real, neither stable. The air is charged with something more than static, a pressure that hums behind your ribs, like thunder still making up its mind. When the door finally forms, it doesn't lead forward, it splits sideways. The crack appears, not in the wall, but in the sky itself, a glowing seam tearing down like lightning in slow motion. Through it, you glimpse another version of this world. Similar trees, but older. A sky that burns orange instead of blue. And someone walking there. Someone who walks like you, but turns the wrong way. When the wind shifts, the seam widens. The worlds are brushing. You hear it before you feel it. A deep, distant groan, like metal bending in the cold of space. The trees around you sway, not from wind, but from interference, as though another forest is bleeding through. Leaves shimmer and vanish. The shadows don't know which way to fall. You step closer to the crack. From this side, it glows silver. From the other, it burns gold. And in the center, flickering like a coin caught between flips, is a memory. Not just yours, someone else's. A picnic you never had. A song you never learned, a goodbye you never gave. All of it rising into your chest like dacia vu turned sideways. The ground quakes softly, not enough to fall, just enough to remind you the veil is thinning. The two worlds are too close, or maybe they've always been close, and this is the first time the skin between them bruised. You remember the old story. Not a myth, not quite science, that our universe is a sheet, a brain floating in higher dimensions, that sometimes these brains touch, and when they do, they spark creation or collision. You move your hand toward the seam. The closer you get, the more you feel it, not heat, not cold, but difference, like pressing your fingers to a memory that isn't yours, but still aches. The seam vibrates gently. It pulses. And for a second, you see your hand split. One reaching in, one pulling back. Both are you, neither agrees. Above the crack stretches farther now, zigzagging across the whole sky. Not a wound, not exactly. More like a choice made visible. Through it, you see glimpses of alternate weather, snow falling from a summer sky, clouds spinning in reverse, and voices layered, overlapping, whispering almost sentences in languages your dreams understand. Reality stutters. In one moment, the grass is wet. Next, it's ash. Your footsteps echo like thunder pressed through glass. Something is crossing over. Maybe it's you. Maybe it always was. You sit beside the seam, not because you're tired, but because you're waiting, listening the way you'd sit near a river waiting for fish to rise. And sure enough, something does. A shape emerges. Humanoid, maybe. Shimmering, as if made of two bodies, trying to hold the same space. It doesn't walk, It approaches, like a thought you were about to think. Its face flickers between expressions you almost recognize. It stops just beyond the glowing line. You don't speak. Neither does it, but still, you understand. It's here for the same reason you are. Not to break the seam, but to feel it. To know what a universe tastes like when it's not alone. And then it nods, not forward, not backward, just ... inward, as if to say, we've been touching all along. The wind shifts again. Both skies blink. You see stars where there were none. Galaxies like ink blots on the dark. The crack pulses, soft now, like breath. And just above you, a piece of sky falls away, not breaking, but revealing. Through the tear, you glimpse something deeper than space. Not another world, not even time. Something before those things, a kind of waiting. A velvet pause, it feels. Like standing on the edge of a heartbeat. The seam narrows, not because it's closing, but because it's choosing. Condensing into a point, a ripple, a single glowing strand in the vast weave. You touch your fingers to the last shimmer and feel the weight of more than one world press gently into your palm. Behind you, the shimmer being fades like a sigh into mist, and above, the stars flicker into new positions, tiny rewirings of fate. You take a breath. It feels layered, as if breathing for two lives at once, and then the ground beneath you solidifies. For the first time in this chapter of the dream, you know exactly where your foot will land. The seam is gone. But the sky remembers just at the horizon, where two clouds meet and part. A flicker pulses, once, twice. The hum feels like a thought you almost had. It doesn't enter through your ears, but through your bones, through the soft spaces behind your breath. You follow it around the bend, where the path dissolves into stardust. And there stretching before you, like a sleeping sea lies, a dark plane of glass, polished so finely it reflects stars that aren't even there yet. You step carefully, but the surface doesn't ripple. Instead, it responds with silence so complete, it feels like listening to your own memory. The sky overhead has no center. Galaxies float like lanterns held too long. You look up and that's when you see it. At first, it seems like a trick of starlight. But then it blinks. A vast, soft eye nebula-shaped, woven from the faintest shimmer of pale blue and gold opens slowly in the sky above. It doesn't look at you. It looks through you. And somehow, you know it always has. You pause. The air around you is different here, more knowing, less empty. Not cold, exactly, but alert. The kind of air that waits. Behind you, the hum softens into nothing. Ahead, the eye doesn't move. But when you take another step forward, it begins to close. Not quickly. Just enough to make your heart forget its rhythm for a moment. You're not sure if you're being watched, or if you are watching. The ground beneath your feet changes. You begin to walk on fragments of places you've already seen, teeny pieces of every world you've passed through. A floor made from stitched dreams, fog from the memory forest, melted mirrors from the chapter of still light, the ticking silence from the double-shadowed room. All of them arranged like a pattern you almost recognize. You kneel to touch one, and it shivers flickering between versions of itself. A hallway becomes a meadow, becomes a stairwell, becomes a silence. Not random, responsive, as if each tile of this place reshapes based on your curiosity, somewhere far above. The eye blinks again. You look down and see your own reflection, but not the version you remember. This one shifts. In one blink, you are a child, next, a stranger, then someone you've never met, but somehow carry. Your reflection resists choosing. Just like everything here, you speak a word, but it echoes before you say it. You feel it then, softly. This is not a world built from matter. It's a world built from questions, no answers, not outcomes, but the feeling of being wandered about. Every step you take redraws the laws beneath you. When you pause, the rules hold. When you walk, they rewrite. You realize this isn't a dream you're in. It's a dream dreaming of you. You turn slowly in place. Above you, the eye waits. It isn't judging, it isn't decided. It's witnessing. That's all. And suddenly, it clicks. You've never really been alone in any of these chapters. Every world you drifted through, the snowball echoes, the frozen light. The double-time universes, they weren't just scenes. They were reflections, simulations, testbeds, eyes, all of them. You look back now, and the road behind you is gone. Or rather, it never existed. Not the way you thought. It was drawn by your looking, your wondering. Each step you believed you took forward was also being observed, written into reality by attention. You kneel again, and this time, the ground beneath your hand doesn't flicker. It stays solid until you stop thinking about it. Then it wavers again, like a mirage with memory. You think of the observer effect in quantum physics. How a particle collapses into one truth only when seen. And now you understand, that's what this final world is. A place that only exists because you are trying to understand it. A meta-universe made not of atoms or energy, but of attention. Every law of nature here hums with the quiet agreement of being noticed. Nothing is decided until it is witnessed. Nothing is final until it is remembered. You stand again. The sky grows deeper, not darker. The stars begin to drift, not through space, but through versions of space. You watch one star become two, then many, then none. The sky here edits itself when you blink. The eye above starts to dim, not in fear or in rest, but in release. Like it no longer needs to be watched, now that you know how to see. You turn your gaze to the horizon, and there, at the edge of the reflective plane, you see something flicker. A doorway not made of wood or glass, but of paused decisions. An outline waiting to be walked through, but still you linger. There's something here, some echo of a question you haven't yet asked. You whisper it aloud. Was it all real? The world does not answer. It just listens harder. And then, just before you take that step forward, you look back one last time. Not with fear, not with longing, but with the quiet knowing that every version of you is still echoing somewhere behind, that no path was wrong. Because all of them were seen. Above. The nebula eye closes softly, not like an ending, but like an exhale. And just before the horizon folds, you feel something watching from beyond the watchfulness.